All right, guys, what is going on? Chris coming to you live with another mock draft. YouTube, I just want to say you guys have absolutely been killing it. We finally hit 3K subs, so I just want to thank you guys so much for everything. And the support that you guys have been showing on the videos lately has been absolutely crazy. We're going to bring you guys lots more content, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. So in our previous mock draft, the one that Mike did, he did 12, and somebody in the video requested to do 10. I already did 6 earlier. I'm talking about the pick number, by the way, if you haven't caught on, but I wanted to do something a little bit closer to that middle of the pack, anywhere from pick like 7, 8, 9, because Mike kind of did the latter half of the draft. This is another 12-team league. I think 12 teams pretty standard. I wanted to try and get a 14 in, but the problem with 14 is that, you know, it just doesn't fill as quickly as the 12-team leagues do in the Yahoo mock drafts. So unfortunately, that's difficult to do. What I want to do with this is I want to give you guys an idea and understanding of which options are available to you if you pick later in the draft. So because we know that Yahoo Standard has 4 goalie categories, which is wins, goals against, save percentage, and shutouts, we know that goalies are definitely a viable strategy. And we have 2 guys sitting right here in Andrei Vasilevskiy and Igor Shesterkin. So I'm curious to see if one of those fall to me at 9 and if it just goes by ADP and everyone in the top here gets taken. I like to sort by total stats from last year just to give myself a general idea of how a player was last year. I'm also going to make reference to some of our projections, but we are flying underway here. If a goalie is available, I might take it just to give you guys that option. You got to make sure that if you take a goalie in the first round, that it makes sense based off your league scoring. So if there's 5 player categories and 4 goalie categories, a lot of the time, like let's use Kucherov as an example here, even though like realistically Kucherov only hits 4 categories. Sure, he hits a little bit of the 5th category, but I would argue that Vasilevskiy and Shesterkin are at such a higher tier than the rest of the goaltenders available that, you know, it's worth taking in the first round. I know Mike doesn't like taking players or doesn't like taking goalies in the first round, but I think it's okay. I personally try to stay away from it because I think there's better goalies in the later rounds. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of Vasilevskiy or Shesterkin. Normally what I would do, however, is I would take Rantanen here. I can't believe Huberdeau just went. That's kind of criminal. I almost just want to take Rantanen. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to give you guys the option of seeing what your team's going to look like if you pick a goalie in the first round. So I'm going to take Andrei Vasilevskiy. I think he's just a much safer pick than Shesterkin. Obviously, Shesterkin was unbelievable last season, but to me, like, Vasi's still the number 1 guy. And for Shesterkin to repeat the season that he had, I think Igor would have to do that in order to value him higher than where I value Vasilevskiy. So, that being said, what does that leave us with? Well, we're going to come around on the turn here in 5 picks. So I'm assuming these 5 guys get taken. If for some reason, like Shesterkin's really falling here, and I might get Shesterkin. This might be a crazy video, guys. If we go, there's no way he falls to me. I'm going to assume he doesn't fall. So Marner, Stamkos. I like Kyle Connor because of his shot volume, but I don't like the Jets this year. Pasta, Brady. I don't think Brady will fall to me at pick 3 if I don't take him in the second round. Yeah, Shesterkin just went. That would have been a crazy video. Ovi's here as well. Matthew Tkachuk. These are all great options. I'm not a huge fan of Kreider. Zib is just kind of like to me, he's like a tier 2 centerman for me. So I think given the circumstance of the fact that this league counts hits, I think I'm going to go with Ovi. The shot volume's insane. He hits. Mike and I were looking at this today, actually. In 4 of the last 5 seasons, Ovi's had over 45 goals. So, like that just goes to show you, like, even though he's in the latter stages of his career, he's still just as consistent with his shot volume and with hitting and with his goal scoring. And he's going to hit power play points as well, so I'm very happy with that. So we got a little bit to go here. Pick 3 comes, and if Brady's available, guys, like, Brady's just, like I said, if your league counts hits and shots, like, Brady should be gone in the first 2 rounds. I like Ovi a little bit better just because, like, he doesn't hit as much as Brady, obviously, but, you know, his goal scoring makes up for it. Brady did have 30 last year, and I really like Kachuk. But obviously that plus minus is a little bit of a concern. Adam Fox is still available here. We do need a defenseman. I believe, Roman Yossi's also gone already. Let me think. I like Eichel. One of these guys is going to fall to me, and I wonder who it is. Given the choice probably between Zib and Eichel, I think Zib has a higher floor, but I think Eichel has a higher ceiling. Zib is just a much safer pick. Like, we don't know how Eichel is really going to be, but, you know, like, Eichel could put up 90 points next year. Like, that's it's definitely in the realm of his skill set. So I'm curious to see who I'm going to go with here. We'll look a little bit ahead of the 4th round. If we can snag another goalie and just solidify our goaltending, then that allows us to just go ham with forwards and defensemen. So Ovi Vasi. Shesterkin just went. That's a good pick. Gujar at 26, I think, is good value. I'm surprised Stamkos is still here. He should go. I'm surprised Pasta's still here. I think at this point, at pick 3, there's a lot of good centermen, so I'm tempted to take a defenseman, but I don't think that John Carlson is worth my 3rd pick. I would rather get somebody a little bit more high end, and then try and grab somebody like Mort Seider for pick 4. Morgan Riley's available. We talked about Quinn Hughes a lot this year, how he's very one-dimensional. He just kind of hits scoring categories. Stammer's still there. If I can get Stamkos, I'll be very happy. Because then my team has some really high shot volume. Worst case scenario here is if Stamkos and Pasta both go. UC Saros already went. That's, I mean, like I said, goaltending. If Stamkos falls to me, I'm thrilled. He did. Wow. He took Kyle Connor. Okay. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I don't think Stamkos should have dropped that far. Like, I'd take him over Connor. I'd take him probably over Crosby. Evander Kane too. I mean, Evander Kane has hits, but I mean, he's like, Stamkos was a 100-point player last year. I'd probably take him over Svet. Like, he shouldn't have dropped that far to me, but I'm very thankful that he did. So, taking the turn here on pick 4, I think we go defenseman and we take Mort Seider. Guys, I don't have to tell you. You guys already know about Mort Seider. If you don't know about Mort Seider right now, I don't know what to tell you at this point. I think the guy's an absolute stud. He's going to be Hedman 2.0. I really wanted to get a 14-man in for you guys just because it makes it a little bit more difficult, because obviously the draft would just be deeper, and I know you guys play in deeper leagues as well. But it's very difficult for it to populate. Okay, so what do we got here? Mort Seider literally just went, which is worst case scenario for me. So I think I'm taking Eichel here. I'm okay with letting Otter slide because there's more goalies available later on. I like Eichel. So our centers are basically set. And I think we have two like really high upside centers. And we've already kind of established ourselves in the hits category a little bit with Ovi. So we're definitely going to look to fill that out in the defense. Coming up on my 5th pick here, I would like to take Frederik Andersen and then just outright win goalie categories against every other team in this league. You guys have to remember, if it's possible for you, and again, it depends on the scoring of your league and everything like that, but if you grab 2 elite goalies within the first 6 rounds of your draft, like you just win 4 categories every week. And then you can fill out the rest. Like, there's just so much depth. There's so much depth at forward. Defense is starting to get a little bit scarce. I might take Morgan Riley here. Jake Ottinger's still there. I think Freddie went as I was talking. Demko went as well. So goalies are going pretty quick. And this is something Jack Campbell just went as well, which is shocking that he went before Otter. And this is something that you guys have to be aware of when you draft, is you need to understand how volatile the positions are. Elias Sorokin, yeah. See, like Bob, Sorokin, Otter all just went off the board, which means people have now either 1 or 2 goalies. So this is good. This is actually good. Philip Forsberg is great because he shoots any hits and he scores goals. Do I like anybody else here? Jack Hughes, but I have 2 centermen already. William Nylander, I think, is a safe pick, and I think he'll hover around a point per game. Ehlers has a really high shot volume, but because we want to establish a little bit more in the hits category, I'm going to take Philip Forsberg. So we have our centers and we have our left wings. So I'm just looking to see right now at defenseman. I really like Rasmus Dahlin this year. I think he has a crazy high upside. If I can get Dahlin at pick 6, I'm going to take him because we don't have any defensemen right now. So I think I'm going to go defenseman, because there are a couple D down here that I like Noah Dobson as well. So I'm going to take Rasmus Dahlin because defense are pretty scarce right now. I know Devin Taves is there, but to me, like, Dahlin just offers more upside. I think Taves is just a much safer pick because he plays with Makar, but Dahlin sees power play 1 time, which is something I want out of my number 1 defenseman. And Buffalo's gotten better, and like the pieces that they have in place now are starting to improve as well. Like Dylan Cousins, you've got Jack Quinn coming up this year. I know a lot. That's a name that's really hot right now in terms of seeing where he's going to play, whether he plays in the top 6 or the top 9. Tage Thompson's just coming off of a big year. Jeff Skinner as well, I think, had 30 goals. So like that's a lot of firepower that's coming out of Buffalo right now, and I think Dahlin can definitely be the beneficiary, and I would not be surprised if Dahlin's like top 10 in scoring. So Nylander's still there, who I like. Noah Dobson's hovering down here. I really like Zach Werenski as well, just because of his shot volume. He doesn't really hit as much. Miro Heiskanen, obviously somebody that we're all big on this year. Dougie Hamilton, I think, is in for a bounce back year. Like Owen Power's available. Jacob Trouba is an incredible defenseman in Bangers leagues. Like 207 hits last year. Brent Burns, I think, is just another. He could have close to 300 shots again this year. Like, these are all defensemen that are gonna be around this spot, and I'd be okay at waiting. Fleury just went. Shabbat got taken very early. Kemper. So a lot of goalies have gone. So let's take a look. Who do we have left? Spencer Knight, Georgiev. I would be okay with that. Jeremy Swayman. Let me check our projections really quickly. So we have Swayman ahead of Georgiev. Elvis Merzlikins. I think he's gone. I don't see him. But just to double check and make sure there's nobody here that is just like completely out of place. See, I could take Jack Hughes, but again, we have 2 centermen already. I think I'm going to take Swayman and just have my goalies solidified. So I'm happy with that. So we want to take a defenseman at pick 8 because there's going to be a lot of value later on in terms of like the wing position, especially. Like that's just how the draft usually goes. So we want to take a defenseman. So I'd be very happy with Mackenzie Weegar. He just went. Who do we got here? Petro. Miro, another high upside guy, Dougie. Maybe pick 9-10, we go defenseman. Is there somebody here that I like? Jack Hughes obviously should be gone at this point. You know what, guys? I'm going to take Jack Hughes, and I'll tell you why. Because at pick 8, even though I have Stamkos Eichel, it's still very possible that you're going to throw a third center into the mix a lot of the time. And nobody else in this range has the upside that Jack Hughes has this season. Drake Batherson would be a good pick here, actually. But, like, there's just so much value here with Hughes. And so what that allows me to do is number one, if he pops off, I can easily fit him into the lineup. I can easily swap Stamkos to the left wing position as well. And we've solidified our goaltending. So really the only thing that we're a little bit, concerned about, Trouba just went, a little bit concerned about is our defenseman. So if we get to pick 9, we want to pick 9 and 10, we're going defenseman. So I would love if I could go Dougie into Burns. Yeah. So we want to go defenseman. Marchand went at 95. I think that's a good value. Georgiev at 96, sure. Batherson, yeah. Heiskanen, I expect to go. Stutzla went before Swayman. Spencer Knight, I think that's like I would have. It's not a bad pick, but I'm curious to see how Burns just went. I'm okay with Petro. Bouchard, okay. Bouchard's definitely on our list this year as well, guys. Power play one time in Edmonton is obviously a huge fantasy selling point when you play McDavid Draisaitl. But if we can get Dougie, I'll be happy. Points. Petro went. Okay. Perfect. All right, so we got Dougie, which I'm happy with. We do want to take another defenseman here, though. I'm not a huge Torrey Krug guy. I get he plays power play 1 in St. Louis. So, to me, at this point, for my third D, we have a couple options here. Owen Power and Jake Sanderson are both available. Owen Power just went, excuse me. Jake Sanderson should see a top 4 role in Ottawa. Bowen Byram is there as well. We want to try and Darnell Nurse just went. Let's take a look at the other players. Shifley, Sam Bennett's there, Boldy. This is a tough pick. I'm going to take Hampus Lindholm. And the reason why I'm taking Hampus Lindholm over a guy like Jake Sanderson is just because guaranteed ice time. With McAvoy being out for a couple, I think it's 2 or 3 months, Hampus Lindholm's going to be the number one guy in Boston. He's going to be solid. Like, he's reliable. He has a high floor. If I wanted to go higher upside, Jake Sanderson's there. Erik Karlsson's available as well. But neither of those guys really have that floor that I'm looking for. See, Bowen Byram went, which I think is a good pick. Rasmus Anderson's also here. But I'm going to try and take a sneaky Charlie McAvoy pick here if he falls to me. Because I'm really not worried about the wing position. There's a lot of value there still, which is kind of what I peaked at prior to taking that pick. Matt Boldy, Jesper Bratt. I think Clayton Keller, even though he plays in Arizona, that's still like he was a 70-point player, or he was on pace for 70 points. He was close to a point per game. I'm not a huge Troy Terry guy. Rupe Hintz is interesting, except he's a center. Lucas Raymond's there, who I think is a really good pick at that point. Nichushkin, I know, is somebody that Mike is pretty high on this year because he should be playing top 6 in Colorado. Tanner Jeannot is obviously somebody we always look to target in leagues that counts hits. So there's the Andrew Mangiapane we've talked about a lot this year. But I think the best value pick here is Charlie McAvoy. Over 150 shots, over 150 hits, 50-point defenseman. Like, he'll be out for a couple months, yes, but he just went. Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay. Who else do we like here? Pionk, Gudis. At this point, guys, I think I'm going to go with Lucas Raymond. I really like this season that he had last year, and I think that if you take a closer look at the numbers, Dylan Larkin kind of struggled in the second half of the season. And I think that, Raymond's just going to get even better. He's going to be on Larkin's line permanently, along with Bertuzzi. So I just think that that's a very, safe pick. And a lot of the times I don't believe in things like the sophomore slump or anything like that. Like, if a player's good, he's good. So I was thinking Boldy there as well. The only thing that I don't like about Boldy is that he no longer is paired with Kevin Fiala, and that Minnesota top 6 looks very thin in terms of scoring. But I think Boldy is the real deal. Who just went? Hannafin, Boone Jenner. Okay. Seth Jarvis, another guy that I really like. Mike and I are both high on this year especially. I think it's time to take Jake Sanderson, guys. Is there anybody else that I really would take over him? Pionk, maybe. Just because of his shots and hits. We are looking a little bit thin on hits, so I'm actually going to take Racco Gudis here. Jake Sanderson is definitely like the higher ceiling player, but you know, Gudis like 355 hits last year. And we got to make sure that we target that category because if you look at our team, Ovi, Forsberg, maybe a little bit of Dahlin, a little bit of Dougie. Yeah, Dahlin had 121 hits last year. Dougie 87, Lindholm 70. So we definitely want to target that. And it's all about filling out categories. Like Gudis will have solid plus minus 100 shots. Like I can't really complain about that either. He won't get me any points, but it's fine because I think we're very well off offensively. So Matt Boldy's dropped. Seth Jarvis is there. Tanner Jeannot is also there. And we know hits are important. So I do like Tyler Seguin this late. Cole Perfetti's good depth. William Eklund just scored a ridiculous Spinorama overtime winner. Olofsson could be in for a bounce back. Tom Wilson. Where do we have Tom Wilson projected? This is goalies. My lights just shut off. 38 points, 54 games. He has the injury. I just remembered. He does have that injury. Okay. So I think right now we're missing a wing spot. Given the players that are available right now, I think the player that I'm most comfortable taking is Seth Jarvis. The next pick is going to be Jake Sanderson into Tanner Jeannot. Tanner Jeannot is going to fill out our hits. Jarvis has really good upside, really good plus minus, plays first line. It should see his production increase, and his production was good last year. So I wonder what we have him project. Guys, if you want access to this projection sheet that we have, it's available in our Patreon. 51 points in 74 games. 86 hits. Like, that's not terrible. Sam Bennett's still available. Like, again, like there's so much value at center. So Morrissey went. Nichushkin's still there, but I'm going to take Tanner Jeannot just because of the hits category. We want to make sure that we target that. This team has a lot of scoring. It's very well balanced. And Jake Sanderson is going to be our sleeper pick this year. And honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had 40 points. If he sees top 4 minutes and the Sens top lines are just going, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I do like Jacob Chychrun. I really like Jacob Chychrun. The only problem with Chychrun, especially in this format, is plus minus, first of all. Second of all, if he stays on Arizona, you know, I don't necessarily know how he's going to pan out. I was hoping he'd be traded by now. And I think if he does get traded, he becomes like a top 25 defenseman. Like, say hypothetically he gets moved to the Sens. Right? Like, he's going to see like 25 minutes of ice time. Provorov? He's just like he's a very good defenseman. He's just a very good NHL defenseman, not a good fantasy defenseman. I'm curious to see how Philly's going to be this year. I wouldn't mind taking a stab at Carter Hart in drafts this year if he falls, just because I think like Torts will have that entire team playing a 200-foot game, excuse me. And so like I'm very curious to see if Hart can find his form that he had within his first couple seasons. And if he does, like that's a huge... We're just taking Jake Sanderson here for the upside, guys. If he does find his form, then that's just a huge, huge steal in your guys' drafts. Okay, so last pick. So what I like to do with my last pick of the draft is, number one, if there's a player that's available that shouldn't be in terms of just like valuation, like number one, like Sam Bennett, like that guy should be gone. So normally I just take him. Anyone else? Sagan, I'm hoping Sagan bounces back and gets you guys like back to like when he had like a crazy high shot volume. Cole Perfetti is a really good late pick. Just because like he's going to see top 6 in Winnipeg. We'll see how Winnipeg is as a team, but Perfetti should see some success in the top 6 there. Arturi Lehkonen is a really good pick this late. I like Bjorkstrand because of the shot volume as well. Vincent Trocheck is available. Oh, is it Trocheck or is it Bennett? I guess it's Bennett. Just kidding. It's Tyler Sagan. Okay. Well, I'm okay with like the auto pick doesn't really matter there because we'd pick up one of those two anyways. I just didn't click the button quick enough. So what was I saying? Trocheck this late in drafts is criminal. This guy's gonna score like 70 points. I don't think Sagan's a bad pick there either. Like, I know it auto-drafted, but it really depends on, like, your league size. I know a lot of the time some people play with, like, more bench players. But let's review this team really quickly. Like, Perfetti, Eklund, Bennett, Trocheck. Like, Bennett... There's just so many good options at center. Oh, they just got taken. There's so many good options at center, which is okay with the fact that we went with 2 elite centers because at that point, like these could be 100-point players, guys. Like Stamkos and Eichel could both have 40 goals, easy. Stamkos could have 50. Right, like it's very possible. Ovi was our second round pick, which was like his floor is just so high and his shot volume is insane and he hits. Like there's really no debate there. Forsberg again, high shot volume, hits, scores goals. Are we seeing a trend here, guys? Lucas Raymond and Seth Jarvis are 2 players that you look at and are like, well, there's definitely better players available. Like I would take Taylor Hall over him, or maybe TJ Oshie. Personally, I believe in taking guys based on their ceiling more than their floor. That's just the way that I draft, because that's what at the end of the day, that's what wins you guys leagues. Is hitting on a player like Lucas Raymond and him putting up. Like last year, for example, like look, like imagine drafting this guy in with your last pick, excuse me. The plus minus is obviously concerning, but I'm not worried about it because we have so many other players that are good plus minus players like Stamkos, Ovi, Forsberg, Jarvis, Dahlin. I think like that should hopefully improve. Dahlin, I'll take that one back. Lindholm, Gudis, Janot, So I think like overall where this team lacks is because we went with a goalie at 9. I was shocked that we were able to get Stamkos Eichel as well. Like our goaltending is the best in the league by far. Let's look at the other teams. He has Heli Georgiev, Ranta, Freddie Fleury Gibson, Demko Campbell Francouz. That's pretty good. This guy drafted 5. This guy drafted 5 goalies. Auto draft maybe. Look at this. We'll look at his top 2. Markstrom Kemper. Yeah, he definitely auto drafted. Markstrom Kemper's solid though. That's not bad. I don't think it touches Vasi Swayman. Saros, Bobrovsky, Jari. That's pretty solid. And he's got Aho, Norris, DeBrincat. He went pretty heavy with the Atlantic guys. Makar, Trouba, Jones, McAvoy. Otter, Bennington, that's pretty solid. That's terrible. Like Merzlikins, sure. Stuart Skinner, backup. And Olmark will split time, I guess, with Swayman. But I think Swayman just takes the lead this year. What did Nick have? Quick Samsonov, that's a nightmare. Z, Shesterkin, Spence, and Varley. I mean, that's pretty good, but we'll see, like I said, what Spencer Knight does this year, whether he takes more of a prominent split with Bobrovsky, but that's risky. And then Talbot Vanacek is you're just closing your eyes and throwing at a dartboard at that point. So overall, I'm happy with our team. I think hopefully this guys gave you a little bit of insight. Obviously, like we saw Stamkos fall, Ovi, Forsberg, and Eichel were great picks in the first 4 rounds. So there's definitely a lot of talent available to you guys. But the one thing to remember is, and that I want to kind of reiterate with these mock drafts, is that you have to understand the people that you're drafting with and the scarcity of the positions. And that's one thing that I really want to drive home for you guys, which is why it's important to do mock drafts and stuff like this, because it kind of just gives you the opportunity to see what situations you're put in if a bunch of defensemen went. Like there was a point in the draft where we had goalies just go after one another. Like Demko, Freddie, and then it was Campbell, and then Bob, Sorokin, Otter all just went. So luckily we ended up with Vasi. And again, like make sure that you guys are familiar with your categories. Make sure that you're targeting players that are well-rounded and that hit every category. And then make sure that you find those elite players, guys like Jeannot, guys like Racco Gudis. Like just be like the fact that I have Gudis, Jeannot, and Ovechkin and Philip Forsberg. Like I might, and Darlene even, like I might just win hits every week because of it. So let's say hypothetically I win goalie categories every week because I have 2 really strong starters. Vasi will get me wins. And hopefully every other category. Same with Swayman. We'll see how Boston is, but they should still be like a half decent team. I don't know if they'll win as much, but Swayman should still be solid. So hypothetically, let's say I get 3 goalie categories every week, and then that leaves us with goals, assists, plus minus, power play, shots, hits, the 6 player cats, and I've already solidified myself in taking hits every single week. Right, like this is the value of having players like Gudis and having players like Jeannot. And then on top of all this, guys, I have Jack Hughes, which, you know, that could be another like 80, 90 point player as well. So I think scoring, I'm in a good spot. The only real category where I think I'm weak in is plus minus. That's really the only one where I'm like, okay, maybe I could have done a little bit better. But, you know, I don't believe in the bad team fallacy. And I believe that you should take players based off of their value as players, not their value of who they play for. But that's just my opinion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight into what your team could look like if you do end up drafting a goalie first with Vasi. Obviously at 9, I think like that's a solid pick, and I'm probably taking him over Shesterkin, even though Randon was available, but I wanted to do the video with Vasi. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment down below if there was any point in my draft where you thought that I made like a bad decision on a pick, or you would have taken somebody else instead, or you didn't like any of my picks. I know last time taking Nazem Kadri was a pretty hot topic, so leave a comment down below if you guys want to see a specific pick in a mock draft as well, and just see what options are available to you. So hopefully this video didn't run too long. 40 minutes is kind of lengthy. I apologize, but hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day.